I'm the chairperson, and I was taking my pass and proposed to you, if it's okay with our next speakers, the Swedish persons and Anna Elomäki, could we postpone your papers to until the afternoon? But I think we have been too ambitious in drafting the program. We could have a little space for discussion here, and I would like to open the discussion now. I hope my colleagues are here with the microphones. I already see one request for the floor at the back, here in the last rows. Please use the microphone. Please present yourselves and be very brief in your comments and questions, and we here respond. You can speak English or Finnish, either one. Any. Pirkko Mannimäki, the Forum of the Disabled. Thank you for the thank you for the outstanding keynote. But what I wanted to speak about or ask about is the Minister of Finance representative. We have seen examples of the impact assessments. For example, in the housing allowance of the disabled, you forget the gender aspect totally. Have you had instructions, or is there a notion in the ministry? Now that we are in an economic crisis, let's do away with the luxuries of the good times, such as equality. You have your own microphones, you can use them as well. You can use that one too. So there's the table microphone too, and then ask for the other afterwards. Krister Kart, Equality Finland. Haluaisin puhua vähemmistönaisista. On ollut hyvin kiinnostava tähän mennessä. Lesbot ja sukupuoli transnaiset ovat hyvin diskriminoituja ja syrjittyjä. Heidän tilanteensa ei ole hyvä kansallisesti siis. Onko edes toivetta tälle minoriteetille, niin heitä on noin 10%. Onko olemassa jonkunlainen agenda heitä ajatellen? Entäs Suomen tasa-arvotyö? Onko heitä otettu lainkaan huomioon? On paljon syrjintää. Myös sen, joka on tunnustettu eurooppalaisesti ja laajemminkin. Thank you, Emilia Reyes, from the bottom of my heart. Your presentation was very deep, and it had so much that in Finland has not even surfaced, because we have the problem of not having problems. And as a consequence, the municipalities don't understand all the power in the municipalities, that the Article 5 or the Equality Act are really in force, which means that after Article or under Article 5, we are obliged to change the culture structures that are gender blind. And that is the basic task in Finland or Hungary, where the culture is exceptionally culturally illiterate. And Meija, thank you. This is a statutory task for us, and refusing to perform. It's a violation of the official's tasks, but the loop between strategy and training, well, I have long experience in the inner circle. Now I'm a free activist, and I now say we need to do something, accept the problems. Thank you. This is a very good starting point for the workshop. Pirkko Mäkinen. Thank you, Pirkko Mäkinen, Ombudsman for Equality. I would like to thank you first for your papers and comments. Luckily, we have the Equity Act, but I'm a supervising authority. I have the feeling that they go like in levels. Equality Act is a bit different. If we look at the budget and the ideas how to remedy this financial situation, if you look at the cuts and measures, they very nastily affect the same groups of people, and it seems that nobody shoulders the responsibility of the accumulated burden affecting, above all, single mothers, pensioner women, and public sector people who earn their money in public service.
Okay, now I would like to give the turn to our panelists. You have 1 minute each. I'm sorry that this is such a short time. Meija, you can go first. I'm sorry I called you Merja earlier, but Meija, please go ahead. The floor is yours. Thank you. I'm not sure what to say in my 1 minute speech. There are so many things to say. Well, from the perspective of a municipality, maybe the thing that I already said, that in gender equality issues, legislation and our Equality Act are crucial. You have to be constantly on guard against new public management about quantifying the use and value of everything. So be on guard in that sense. And the responsibility of politicians, I think that is very important here as well. Somebody said that Finnish parties are all basically the same, but I disagree. I think there are huge differences, especially in terms of equality. So people need to wake up, be in contact with your city councillors and other political decision makers. Mä teen näitä muutamia. Yes, 1 minute is a very short period of time, but my basic message would be that our social security system starts, or the basis for that is everybody's life situation, and as that is the foundation, it excludes the importance of gender. But from the perspective of how these benefits are distributed, the policy that is implemented and drafted is very important, and of course all policy is based on some values every time. The policy has an impact on how poverty develops, who are poor in our society, and as we all know, many of the poor are women, and as we all know, the poverty of mothers has an impact on children as well. So I think this is a common problem between European countries, although we do have the Nordic model here in Finland. Thank you. Emilia Reyes, go ahead. Kiitos. Minä halusin puhua vielä tästä sukupuolitietoisesta budjetoinnista. Se on hyvin kattava viitekehys, joka ottaa alleen ohjelmatyön ja lainsäädäntötyön. Lakia toimeenpaneva elin on sellainen, jolla itselläänkin on hieman tällaista lainsäädännöllistä voimaa, ja se pitää ottaa huomioon. Se monesti unohdetaan. Eli koulutusta pitäisi tarjota myös näille lainsäätäjille, jotta nämä eri mandaatit saadaan harmonisoitua paremmin.
Well, where is it? Show me in writing. So you need to go and train the legal department so that they can change the manuals of operation. So, and then you have to say in the budgetary line of any institution, here from now on, every program that we'll devise will have a gender equality allocation or whatever. You just have to change the column. And another thing is that in terms of budgets, you don't only change the programs, you also try to strengthen the gender units, but also you train people in each area so that they modify their practice. So gender budgets is not only about changing the program, but you go right to the root of the action of the state. To me, that's very important because it's not like just one side small tool. It's actually a very powerful way to change the world. But then, yeah, this other issue about the relation between labor and women. Women work throughout the entire life, and we pay taxes, but then at the end, given that not all of the type of work is formal, then the pensions, so that what state gives them back is lesser than what women give their entire life. So that goes along into many things, because I will also warn against familism. That notion of tying the well-being of the family to women, and this is why poor women, we need to take care of them. No, women are subjects of rights. Children have the right on their own, so they need policies allocated to children. But we shouldn't take care of women just because they're mothers. Women are subjects of rights per se. So children is another thing, people with disability. That familism trend is very dangerous for women. It's discriminatory because you're opposing subjects of rights. So also gender budgets needs to be worked on to change the internality of an institution, but also the way in which we see people. And maybe there's some time to discuss this afterwards.
Thank you, Emilia. Anne Lammila, ole hyvä.
Joo, kiitos. Mä vastaisin tähän.
Thank you. I wanted to answer the question on sexual minorities and whether anybody's talking about those. I represent the Finnish Ministry for Foreign Affairs, and I can say that they are included. They are one of the cornerstone of our human rights strategy that we promote in all international fora. And it's also a part of our development cooperation. It is a cross-sectoral theme there. Only last week we had a discussion or an event where our foreign minister discussed this issue, for example, with NGOs. One of the themes there was reproductive and sexual rights and our activities there, and the representative of Amnesty International said that their highest priority is the rights and the status of transgender people. And we said that internationally, in international terms, Finland is doing many things, but maybe here within our borders we don't always have the same enthusiasm. Thank you. Thank you, Anne. The next speaker is Anne-Mari Asikainen. Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to comment on the theme having to do with impact assessment. Somebody asked why impact assessments are not always carried out properly. Our system is such that the ministries are responsible for a particular draft piece of legislation, and they include the experts that they want in that work. And I think this is the place where we need to focus our efforts. We need to include people who are experts in gender equality in this preparative phase. That is the place where you can really have an impact, and I think that would gain us some insight, a more wider insight, I would say, into the equality between men and women. And if we can create this insight, we can get better outcomes. We already have the data, but not everybody is very proficient in using that data. I think in Finland people feel that they need to go beyond the idea or the ideal of gender equality, that we need to go beyond the idea of people being men and women. Political responsibility is one thing. Different ministries need to take up on more responsibility. Here in Denmark, they have a good example of this. The Ministry of Transport in Denmark is now focusing on how women are the targets of harassment in public transport. So the ministries can focus on their own sector and really try to see how gender neutral their own sector is. I think we heard a good example from Emilia. She talked about building roads, highways, and that just goes to show that you can have a gender perspective on many things, but you just need to look a little closer and a little further. Thank you. Jukka Mattila next. Thank you for the good question. Unfortunately, I have to say that I'm not familiar with this specific case. The Ministry of Social Affairs and Health is the one who is drafting this piece of legislation, but what I might say in this context is that we try to provide impact assessments that are as extensive as possible. For example, for environmental affairs, for gender issues. It's not always easy in terms of the schedules that we have. I think there's a trend in Finland saying that we would like to criticize impact assessment and how they are done, but we are not willing to provide the resources to do this work properly. That's my personal opinion. In the taxation department, of course, we try to look ahead. We know that our resources are limited. We know that our document on the gender impact of tax reform, for example, is working. We can refer back to that document without constantly reinventing the wheel. Thank you. My own view is that the budget is only the tip of the iceberg. That is the point where you need to be able to crystallize all the gender equality work being done in your organization, in municipalities, at state level, wherever. We cannot invent the gender equality perspective in the budget if it doesn't exist already at a lower level when you're preparing legislation or programs or something else. I think in Finland we tend to understand gender budgeting only as a matter of drafting a budget, but that's not true. It's about distilling all the activity going on at other levels into the budget. Now we will have lunch.